everyone, it's Jackie at Spare Room Studio. Today I'm going to colour in RJ Hampson's Pirates colouring book, which is one of his earlier colouring books. And I was flicking through and found this page that I had started some time ago using Jelly Roll pens. I'm not sure if I just had some open stock ones that I had bought. And I was trying them out and then completely forgot about doing the page. So I've decided I'm going to come back and do it today. Thinking about the hashtag on Instagram by Poet Spice. Now, forgive me, I can't remember off the top of my head the correct wording, but it's something like Pirates for Poet or something like that on Instagram, and I'm going to use the Ohuhu 200 colour set that I have, and I just thought I'd do a little bit of a colour and chat while I do it, and let's see how I go with it. So I'm going to get started with some blues. Now, once again, this isn't going to be a proper colour along, it's more of a colour and chat style video. But I will say these two colours are Sapphire B956 and Pastel Blue B289. Now sometimes I will forget to give you the colours because I have mentioned this in the past to you before, that I don't really plan to do proper colour alongs on the channel, not at this stage anyway, partly because I don't feel confident enough to do them. And oh, that end's very dry. Let's see if we can get something out of the other end. This end doesn't feel as dry as the fine point. So yeah, two reasons. One being that I'm not overly confident yet at doing a colour along style video where I have to do, you know, editing and possibly put colour names up and all that sort of thing, because at the moment I just don't want to do that sort of video. And also I think it's really valuable for you to get ideas from watching someone else do their colouring, but not necessarily have to use the same colours, and mostly for the reason that not all of us have the same sets of colours. And I know there are some people who feel like they have to have the same colour or it's just not going to work. And I'm trying to encourage people not to think that way. I'd rather you think, okay, I don't have that colour, so what can I use that will work just as well? And also I feel like we have our own tendencies for different sorts of colours that we like. Some people like pastel. Some people like jewel tone, some people like very monotone, some people like, you know, earthy colours, some people like bright colours, and so on and so on. And so I think that we all tend to develop our own colouring identity. If you look at some of your favourite artists on Instagram or YouTube, your favourite colourists, you will see that quite often they have a very recognisable signature style. And one of the people that I'm thinking about is new to YouTube, but she's well known on Instagram, is Cat and Paste. And Christine has a remarkable style of her own. And I'm so glad that she's doing YouTube now and sharing some of her knowledge with us, because, you know, she is an artist in her own right. And it's always lovely when people are willing to share some of their expertise with us and we can pick up little tips from them. But her work is so unique and very recognisable. She has quite a strong colour palette that she tends to work with, and she also works very much with creating lots of contrasts. So by that I mean she has lots of lights and darks, And some of this is a bit tricky to see what's going on here. So that's his arm. And is this still a bit of his coat over his leg here? I think so. Well, that's what it's going to be now. So yeah, look out for Cat and Paste, either on YouTube or on Instagram. And if you don't already follow her or know her, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about when you study her work. And I feel like the best way to develop that, gosh, this is very tricky. I'm not sure. That looks like it's rolled around there as well. Sorry, getting distracted there. You will see what I mean about, you know, having that distinct colour palette. And I think that the best way to create that for yourself or learn that for yourself is pretty much through trial and error and playing. And whilst it's, you know, useful to know the colour names and so on, and if you really want to replicate the look of that, you know, favourite person of yours completely, then, you know, perhaps you will feel like you need to know those colours. But personally, I think that you're better to practice on your own and replicate things to the best of your ability by playing with the colours yourself, learning what works and what doesn't work by accident. I think making the mistakes is really, really valuable in art. And if you never get the confidence to make the mistakes, you're never really going to discover your true style. So that's my personal viewpoint. It's not a criticism of anyone. You know, if you decide that that's how you want to learn, then that's fine. But, you know, you will need to look to other channels for that and not me. I'm much more about trying to give you some confidence to play and discover the things for yourself. I feel like that's where my encouragement is best for you. So I hope that doesn't offend anybody. It's not meant to, but it's just meant to be, you know, it's an observation of mine and a belief of mine that was probably, you know, instilled in me when I went to art classes, because I used to be one of those annoying students that said to the teacher all the time, oh, I wish I could do that like you, oh, you know. And I meant it in a very appreciative way to, you know, basically say to the teacher or instructor that how much I enjoyed their skills and their artwork and so on. But it must have come across as being very needy and a little bit annoying at times. Thankfully, nobody ever made me feel that way, but I did have one teacher. I think she was one of the very first lessons that I did when I went back to the adult campus. And perhaps she was sort of new to teaching mature age students and was still talking to us a little bit like we were, you know, high school students. And if you asked her to do a demonstration step by step of how to do something, she flat out refused and said no. You know, you're not here to copy what I'm doing. And so she could be very abrupt, but in a way she did us all a favour, because she gave us the basic premises of drawing, because she was teaching a coloured pencil class, and she was giving us you know, the basic premises of drawing. You know, some of the, I hate to say rules because I don't think there should be rules in art, but there basically are principles in art that are worth learning and are worth knowing. And once you know them, you can break away from them. Then you know basically what works and what doesn't work, and what rules you can bend and which rules you can break, and which rules are actually there for a good reason. So maybe principles of art is better than rules of art. Yeah, this is very confusing here. I'm getting quite confused about what this is and what this is here. Okay, I'll keep going with what I think I know to start with. So that's primarily why I choose not to do a full-on colour along for you guys. You know, because I really do think that it is extremely important to develop some of these skills and you know, decision-making process for yourself. And there's no right or wrong way of doing it. And so, you know, if you're dissatisfied with how your pages are looking, well, then you can look to other pages and look at what you do like from the people that you do like to follow. And, you know, look at them with a critical eye yourself and try to work out what it is about those things that you do like and what is different to what you're doing. And then I feel like when you make those discoveries for yourself, it's much more meaningful and it will stay with you. You know, it'll be a lesson that stays with you rather than being told something or having to look up in a book how to do something. It will sink in that little bit more with you. Now, this is quite a hard picture to have chosen to do on a video with you. Now that I'm doing it, I've decided that. Let's see. This one is called From Dust. It is E371. We'll do this for some boots. And instead of wasting all that tiny little nib, let's go in with the chisel. If you're watching Lily, I know you don't like using the chisel, but sometimes it's an awful lot quicker to actually just do the main bit of colouring with that chisel tip. I can't do fine details with them like Danny Buttons does, but some of these bigger areas, it's much more simple to go into these big areas with the chisel. So I've done a couple of pages recently which have been coloured pencil, and whilst I have enjoyed the coloured pencil, I remember very much why I like markers, alcohol markers and water-based markers, because they took me a lot longer to colour with just pencils than using at least a marker base. Okay, so I've got this From Dust. We want a darker brown or deeper brown. Actually, I'll go for bronze, I think. Bronze is E440. Just to put in some shadows, and then I'm going to use the From Dust to work back in that wet edge and blend the colour so I don't get too harsh a line. remembering that this is very much an illustrative style that RJ's done here. That doesn't require you to do realistic lifelike blending if you don't wish to. And this style of illustration sometimes looks really good when you do some very graphic block colouring and mimic the look of digital colouring with your markers. So I'm not being too fussy about that at this stage. I just sort of want to get the idea of where I need the colours to be, and then all the fine tuning and finesse, for lack of a better word, can come towards the end. But for now I'm just getting in the rough idea of the colours, where I want the colours. And you can see there, I'm really not being very fussy about it. What I'm doing is where the bronze was wet, I'm coming back with the one called From Dust, and I'm just blending that back out. And I'm still going to get some hard edges because I'm not working at fine blending. So where I go over the dry first layer of From Dust and do another layer, it's going to have a little bit of a hard edge, but that's okay. Now, I think that he might be quite the dapper, well, he was a dapper pirate when he was alive and not a skeleton. So I'm actually going to go for some red stripes in his pants. And I'm going to choose Geranium, which is R865. And I'm just going to put some red stripes into his trousers. So I hope this video finds you all well. I'm going okay. Don't really want to sort of get into too much detail because you've heard all the story if you've watched the last video. So suffice to say that recovery is going slow and steady at the moment. I'm still having a few skin irritation issues with dressings, but on the whole, not really anything to worry about. So I've been trying to colour as much as I can still. I've also been doing some crochet, so that's been nice to get back into doing that. I'm actually working on a blanket at the moment that is going to be donated to charity. So I'm just working on that in my spare time. I'm going to use Shell White E195 for the other stripe in his trousers. Now I did a page in another RJ Hampson book, I think it was the new one, Mountain King, and somebody asked about what colours I was using for some stonework, I think. And the 200 set of Ohuhu, I don't know if they have a name, you know, the Honolulu or whatever. I'm not really up to speed with all of that sort of stuff, but it's just a 200 set of Ohuhu alcohol markers, and they have a reasonable amount of these very neutral, basic sort of, I call them cream or off-white, taupe, that sort of colour range that I find really, really handy. And I'm actually going to use some of that to get started on the skull. So I need something a little bit lighter as well, so I'll go for cream colour, E191. That's a little bit more warmer than shell white. Sorry, I'm not even up to speed with these names because, to be fair, I often don't take a lot of notice of the names. So we'll start doing most of the bones with the cream colour. And then we can darken some of those up to make them look old and so on later. Or put highlights in maybe with some white acrylic paint pen or gel pen or something like that if we need to. But this is just going to be the basic colour that I'm going to start with. And I'm just going to do the same thing that I did with the blue, and that is to put some of the deeper shade in, and while it's still wet I'm blending out that edge so that we don't get a really hard edge from that deeper colour. And you know, deeper shadows and the contrast can come later. I'm pretty much doing mid-tones at the moment. Because as the page develops and goes further along and I start getting darks in, I will soon work out where this initial mid-tone range is really lacking. And it will become apparent as I go along and keep adding more and more colours. Okay, the cuffs. I think I will go for the pastel blue there. And I'm having to use the chisel end because the other end, the fine point end, is becoming quite dry. So I'm going to need some more blues pretty soon. So I don't know whether I will be investing in another set of alcohol markers or whether I'm going to look at purchasing some open stock. I haven't made my mind up with that yet. I do like the quality of the Ohuhu alcohol markers, and I have had no yellowing from any of the colours as yet. So for the price range, you know, I'm not going to be paying Copic prices. I have no intention of investing that much money into alcohol markers for a colouring book, but I'm quite happy with the quality and the price of the Ohuhu. And where I've used a bit of gel pen here and I don't really like the way that's worked, I'm just going to go over that and it's going to fill in all the scratchy look of that gel pen. So there you go. Now I need to put a little bit of this, and I'm hoping there's enough here. No, very dry. I might have to have a go with some alcohol and see if I can eke out a little bit of extra. I'm not too fussy here. If I go over the lines, the detail on there I'm probably going to do with gold, so it will cover up anything that I've gone out of the lines there. And I think we'll do this collar in a light. Even this end is starting to really dry out now. I still haven't worked out what all this is here going on. You're probably all shouting at me what it is, but I have no idea at this stage what that is. So yeah, I think I'll have gold on the details. That is getting so dry, so I'm sorry if the noise of that is annoying on the video, but is it a pocket on the jacket? Maybe? Like a flap over on the... Oh yeah, let's do it that way. It is now. Executive decision has been made. You know how sometimes a dress uniform will have a flap over the pocket. That's what we're going to go for there anyway. And I've just realised that this is actually his neck bones or spine. There. Go back to this darker blue for the hat. So for this month, I think I'd like to try and do a couple of space-related pictures for Spacetember, the hashtag. I don't have space-specific, that's difficult to say, isn't it? Space-specific books other than Alien Worlds by Kirby Rosannes. However, a number of my books do have space-themed pages. Even this one has a space-themed pirate in it. So I will be able to find something that will be suitable for Spacetember theme. And the other hashtag that I'd like to participate in, and probably will participate in quite heavily this month, is Down the Rabbit Hole by Colourful Louisa and Sabi on, I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm sorry if I'm wrong there, on Instagram. I'll add these into the description box so that if you're interested you can go and have a look. But those two accounts on Instagram are holding a hashtag for September at least. I'm not sure if it's longer than September. But Down the Rabbit Hole to concentrate on any Alice in Wonderland themed pages. And I actually have a few Alice in Wonderland themed books now. It's a theme that I actually quite enjoy colouring, and I've already done 2 pages and I will definitely be doing more. I have a book on order. I can't pronounce the author's name, but Olga Goloshkinov or something like Goloshkina? No. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude or offensive, but I don't recall the name and I don't think I'll be able to pronounce it anyway. But Olga, it's a book that I saw a few flip-throughs of. Is it coloured by Maya? Oh, I'm not sure. I should be quiet before I go putting my foot in my mouth. Anyway, it's a book that I've seen flipped on YouTube, and it's appearing on Instagram now for the hashtag. And I went and ordered it because I thought the drawings were really cute, and I like the fact that, you know, it's a story that, or theme that I'm interested in, but I'm going to have quite a few very different illustration styles for the books that I'm collecting. So I will definitely be colouring in that book when it comes. It's not going to arrive until late in September, unfortunately, but I can make up for lost time when it arrives. So I'd just like to say that if I mispronounce any names on the channel, I really apologise most genuinely. I don't mean to, and I certainly don't mean any offence if I get someone's name spectacularly wrong. But sometimes it can be hard to find the correct pronunciation, and you know, you watch a YouTube video and you might hear several different ways that people are pronouncing the same name, and I just never know which one is correct. That's a belt coming around there, I think. Belt epaulette. So that will be the background of the cave through there. So yeah, I honestly do not mean any disrespect, or, you know, I don't want to upset anyone. This is Mint Green Light G473, and I'm hoping, yeah, it's similar to what I've got there in the gel pen. If it wasn't, then the gel pen can come over it and save it. Let's go on this one. So the alcohol marker feels quite weird over the top of the gel pen there, but it's working. Not the usual colour you would find for a treasure chest, but that's why I like RJ Hampson books, because they're drawn in a style that you can really have fun experimenting with all this stuff. You don't have to go for what everybody else is doing, or what is the perceived normal colour for things. There's plenty of books that are drawn in a realistic manner that you could use your time to pursue that. But personally, I buy RJ's books because they're a little bit of escapism and fun and humorous, and therefore they are perfect for colouring in whatever way you like. There's something in there. So, you know, I have books that I purchase just for that reason, that I want to be able to relax and let loose and do, you know, marker colouring or, you know, strange colours or play around in. And I have books that I want to look polished, you know, and I want them to look like they're meant to look. I'm actually going to go for a neutral colour here for these carafes of rum. This one is Hazelnuts E288. And you'll see what I mean about a lot of these colours are very, very similar. And I very much like to work in these sort of light to mid colours with the alcohol markers right up until the end, which is when I will then put the shadows and the deeper, darker colours in when I'm pretty certain I know where I want them to be, because they are so overpowering, or can be so overpowering, that if you get it wrong and it's a really dark colour, there's very few ways to come back and lighten it up other than using maybe acrylic paint or a gel pen or something like that on it. And I'd rather just like try not to make it too hard for myself if I can help it. So I'm going to use slightly darker again. This is Tumbleweed E475. Just to darken up the one that is behind. It's being overlapped by that one. Just soften that off. And I've got a colourless blender here that is a Montmartre, because the one that came with this set is dry. And what I like to do with the colourless blender is, what it basically is doing is bleaching or lightening out the colour that is there. It's not actually blending it, it's actually lightening it up. And I like to use this to put in some texture. So something that I don't want to be completely smoothly blended, that I want to look like it's, you know, earthenware or stones or whatever. And that's what I use that for. You can also come back and take out some colour if you haven't left any highlights. I find I get better results if I work on it when the ink is still damp and hasn't dried thoroughly. When I come back like this over dry areas, I don't get quite as good a result as I do when I work into it when it's wet like that. And you can also tidy up edges with these. It just basically takes a bit of that colour back out. It's not going to take all of it out, but it helps take some of it out. And if this doesn't work, you don't get the lightening up effect that you want, then you can come back with white Prismacolor pencil or white pencil, whatever your preferred choice is. And you can use white to do that, or a bit of acrylic with a paint pen or a gel pen. But I just like these colourless blenders just to add a little bit of interest with the texture more than anything. It's not blending the colours together. I don't know why they call it a colourless blender, but to me, it actually just tends to lighten up the colour a little bit. Bit like what happens when I use the hand sanitizer. I I've actually got a spray alcohol, you know, like it's in a pump pack, which is more for an antiseptic disinfectant sort of purpose. And I keep meaning to do some experimenting with that to see if I can spray it on and what sort of effect it might give. When I use it on some of these darker colours that are meant to be fabric, and I use it on some of these areas, I sometimes feel like it makes it look like it's dusty and faded, like old fabric, which is something that I like to have a play with. Colouring quite slowly today, so I don't know how far I'm going to get with this. This is Cool Grey BG038. I'm just going to do a base colour for the sword. I may or may not come in later with some metallics on there, but that will do as a base colour for that. And I was going to do the gun in that, but I don't think I will. I think I'd like the gun to be like a brassy colour, like a blunderbuss, old brass. Sorry, I've just... dropped a pen and knocked everything over. That's not very professional, is it? Shallow earth. Yep, that will do. So I'm thinking it's cylindrical, so therefore it's going to have a band of white highlight down the highest point of the cylinder. And let's do all the catches and trigger and so on in that colour. That will do for now, and I'm going to do like it has a wood what's this thing called? Whatever that's called. Butt of the rifle. I'm going to go for bronze, which is quite dark. So that's the bronze, and I'm going to use From Dust in there. So it's very similar to his boots, but hopefully I'll be able to make the distinction between this is leather and this is wood. And I'll probably do that with either coloured pencil or playing around with the alcohol markers quite a bit and working out some highlights and stuff like that. Maybe warming that up with a different colour brown. This I'm going to make this like a tan, I think. We'll go for potato brown. Let's have a look what that looks like. Yep, that will do. I have no idea what guns look like, by the way. That's not something that I'm up to speed with, and I'm not going to bother doing too much about researching it, so I'm just going to make it up as I go along. That's the From Dust, and I'm going to mix that with the not the potato brown, we want shallow earth, Y488. And I'll have to have a play about with how to get a metal, old sort of metal look about that, maybe. I've used a gold metallic pen for the coins, and I think I'm going to use gold, you know, some sort of metallic pen on the detailing on the cuffs and so on. The epaulette, I think I'm going to do them red. I don't know what colour epaulettes normally are. Is this an epaulette? Maybe not. I don't know, but I feel like red will be okay there. And probably, what am I going to do on there? This is the danger when you don't think things through before you come on camera. Alright, let's just give a quick start on the background there. I want a warm grey or a yellow grey, I think, for... Let's start with these two. Warm grey 170, warm grey 180. And I'll get started with those on the background. He's in a cave of some sort, but I don't always like to use a lot of brown. I like brown as a colour, but I don't use it an awful lot in colouring. So that's the 170, this is the 180. Let's go in for some of these tighter details here. This is where you find it easier if you leave your lids off and you just keep working back into each other like that. See, I've got very little control over it. I'm holding that at the end. Whereas this one, for the fine details, I'm holding it down towards the nib so that I've got better control over it. But down here I'm not really too fussed about that, so I'm holding it further back. Now the walls of a cave, I'm thinking, are not going to be like a perfectly painted wall. There's going to be texture and colour changes and marks and lights and darks and so on, so I'm not going to waste any time even on this first layer. Not going to waste any time getting that too tidy. I just want to be tidy along the actual edges. Try not to get too much to bleed over. And I'm going to see right through the skull there because he's going to have a big hole in the back of his head. because otherwise obviously you wouldn't see the same colour as the cave wall behind there unless he had no back to his head. So he's going to look like he's been shot in the head. I will come back and do that one with a skull colour. It's a bit gruesome, but that's what I'm going to infer. I would say that a lot of pirates came to grisly ends. I don't think they would have all fallen asleep and died in their sleep as old men. Okay, so that's that. Yeah, let's go down here as well. Sometimes lines don't end up going where I think they're going to go when I start following them. That can get blended out. That can get used in a different colour. Use a different colour in here. Sorry, I'm still having trouble with words at the moment. I don't know if it's because I've got out the habit of recording or whether I'm still a bit tired. It's getting later in the afternoon here now. I paced myself today and actually did a little bit of housework. My husband's gone back to work, so he wasn't here to do some of the things that really have to be done every day when you have a hairy dog. We pretty much vacuum every day, sometimes twice a day, because Hamish loses a lot of hair. Now that I've been leaving him out in the garden a little bit more on his own, it hasn't been getting quite so messy, which is another bonus. He's doing quite well with being left outside. Each day I've been doing it for a little bit longer. Sometimes he can get into the laundry because we have a doggy door, and sometimes I block the doggy door with the solid door that comes with it, you know, to close it off. And sometimes I block that off so that he can't get in. You know, and he's forced to actually be in the garden without being able to come and hide in the laundry, because that seems like it's his safe space. So obviously that stresses him a little bit more, but as I've mentioned, I do believe that he needs to be exposed to increasing levels of stress if he's ever going to conquer some of these nervous traits that he has. It's a lovely day out there today. There's no wind, it's perfectly quiet, there's nothing to scare him. So there's really absolutely no reason why he can't be a regular dog and actually spend a bit of time outside on his own. And it gives me a bit of space and a bit of peace and quiet to come and record for you guys. Gives me that little space where I don't have to be worrying about, is he going to have a toilet accident in the house? Okay, I want a lighter colour again here, I think. So that was warm grey, 170 and 180. I've got warm grey. I've got a 140, no, but that looks really odd colour. So I'm going to go for 150. It's just that little bit lighter around here. And you can see it's got quite a, what I call neutral or beige tint to it or look to it. So although it's grey, it's more of a browny grey that suggests to me like, you know, dust, a light coloured soil. Or almost a bit of a sand colour, I guess. And again, I'm not going to be too fussy about finely blending all that. I think that I'll probably come back with some coloured pencil at the end. So how long have I been recording here? Nearly an hour. Okay. I either have to speed up or wrap up. This one's drying out a little bit too. That's the sea and the sky that you can see through the opening to the cave there. That should be blue in there, I think. That's like the bit of the sleeve showing through. And so not only can you use the colourless blender for texture, you can use a darker marker and just dot, do random dots. Now that one was the 180, this is the 170. And for the purpose of that, there's not a huge difference in there anyway. This one is the tumbleweed, so a bit of brown. So a bit of random dots, just to put some texture in there. And I might even come back with a deeper colour in there again yet, like the bronze. Just do something like that. Little bits of dark in random spots where there might be a bit of shadow. So just experiment with your markers, and don't forget, while they're still damp, you can blend in lighter and darker colours together. And then you've always got your colourless blender that you can come back and do more texture. I might leave that for now. Sky blue, let's go for sky blue for the sky. So most of my blues are drying up because I found with the 200 set of the alcohol markers there really isn't a lot of lighter blues in there, so I use the same blues quite a bit and dry them up very fast. This is turquoise blue G191. See that one's drying up too. I quite often like to give my sea that lovely turquoise or aqua greenish blue look when it's got a nice blue sky like that. Plus that ties in with these colours here. That is the background there, isn't it, of the cave. So, you know, there's some lines that RJ has put in there for us. I'm wondering if I've mixed my lids up here. No. That is darker. Okay. Those two greys are very similar. This is the 150, just to blend some of that together. What I found is sometimes when you're using the darker grey and then you use the light grey to come back and blend, it actually lightens up that darker grey. Works a bit like a colourless blender. That's that same colour. Cream. What about shell white? That's very similar as well, isn't it? You see, this is shell white and that was warm grey, and they look quite similar. Let's use some of that in here. So this is how I get some of the effects too. When the markers are actually drying up, it's random stuff that happens without you even trying, just because the marker is drying out. And it's nothing to do with any sort of skill level or technique or anything on my part. It's just the fact that the marker is drying up that it's doing that. This is another reason that I don't really want to do colour alongs, because a lot of my supplies are getting quite old. And I don't know if I'm even going to replace some of them. And if you've got a really new set of the same marker, you might find that your results are going to look quite different to what mine do with these dried up markers as well. So again, that's, you know, there's quite a few reasons why I don't give you every single colour that I'm using. Now I might have to leave it there. This is deep yellow Y697 because I'm getting close to the point where I'm either going to need my gel pens or coloured pencil. And I actually don't have them with me. I only sat down at the table with my alcohol markers. Might just do that crab in that colour to start with, and then we can come back. I always think of crabs as being orange for some reason. So I'll come back with some orange and red to fix that guy up. I'm going to use this as a base for some gold things without using the metallic. Not sure with that guy yet. I'm thinking the strapping on here will be dark grey to black sort of colour, like cast iron, old iron. I've got no idea what those stripes are in there. I've left there, which should be the cave wall behind him. I'm just going to do that and see what it dries like, whether I need to come back in and cover it up later. It doesn't really matter, I can cover it up. So part 2 will hopefully be the finishing touches and completion of this page. Shouldn't need any more parts in there, I'm hoping. So just to recap, I had started this chest here with some Sakura Jelly Roll Moonlight pens, and I've used the Sakura metallic gold pen, and the rest of this is Ohuhu alcohol markers so far, but I really do think I'm going to use coloured pencil to come back in and finish this up, because I think it'll be fun to do some details and shading, get some dramatic shading going with pencils rather than markers. So at this point I'm trying not to introduce too many more new colours in the markers. I'm trying to just make do with what I've got out. I think that should be gold as well, perhaps. Where's that shallow earth? I'll do it the same colour as up here. And I will come in with some other colours just to get highlights and shadows. And maybe this guy. So some of it can look like shiny gold and some of it can look like old tarnished gold. Maybe. Actually, yeah, that would have all been gold. Make it look like it's all different types of metals. So you can see I'm not really very careful all the time with my marker colouring. If I really want that finely blended, careful change of colour, then yes, I would be colouring much more carefully and with much more thought. However, I don't feel like this particular so this is now the tumbleweed. I've used the deep yellow and the shallow earth to work on this little trinket come mask. I want it to look like it's sort of metal, but I'm going to have to put some highlights back in there. Because of the style of the illustration and what I want it to sort of say, I don't feel like I need to be all that precise at this point in time anyway. I might, you know, with the pencils bring in a lot of finer detail and shading with that, but I'm going to use the shallow earth, I think, as the basis for this gold, and then I can use the gold pen on it over the top. So my thinking is that there's a time and a place for just about everything, and some colouring for me is sort of fast and furious, like I just want it done quick. I want a quick result. I'm not necessarily looking for winning any competitions, that it's the best colouring that anyone has ever seen. But it's satisfying to me to get this colour down as fast as I can. And I'm more interested in the colour rather than the techniques or the finish at this stage. I'm feeling a little bit tired at the moment. I've got not maybe as much concentration as I should have. And so this is quite sufficient for me at this current moment in time. Do I think that it's a less of a picture and it doesn't deserve, all the attention and so on? No. But I feel like this type of illustration style can be approached in lots of very different ways. and this is a neutral grey CG021. I feel like, you know, time and place for everything, and it could be done on another day in a very different way. But for today, this is suiting my purpose and what I want. So, now that grey has dried so light you can hardly even tell it's grey. I think, oh, we need a little colour on the handle there, don't we? Let's make that blue. So it sort of ties in with him. The corks in the bottle need a little bit of colour. Let's go for, that's potato brown. And I'm going to lift this up to you in a minute and you can see what it looks like, and then the progression when I do some finishing touches. So I'm going to go for a different sort of grey again. Let's go for green grey GG080, and I'm just going to do all the strapping in that one colour, and then I will come back and put some details in later. So all of this is just going to be like a mid-tone base. And what I'll do is I'll leave my markers out when I'm using the pencils in case I need to come back and, you know, I've forgotten to do any base colour somewhere that I feel like I need the markers still. Yeah, I'm going to do the whole lot of the strapping and the metal on here, this colour, because I feel like I will put some black on some of this and really darken some bits up. And also I will be using some white to come up with some highlights. Although I've got a feeling where that's naturally lighter there anyway, that would be a good spot to do a bit of highlight. And the same there. Okay. Thinking it might be nice if I do some silver on there, maybe. I'm going to have gold there. No, okay. Change my mind. That's going to click into there. And this bit here I'm not sure about yet. Maybe the details on it might be painted or a lighter grey or something. Excuse me. Okay, so, you know, like I'll be coming back and putting some shadows underneath those rivets. And so on as I come back, either in marker or pencil. Work out, I think that's some sort of, is it a strap for the gun or some sort of, I don't know. No, that's not going to stand out if I do that. I think we might have a metallic for that. Yeah, some of these other details might be metallics. This is shell white. No idea what colour feathers I'm going to do there yet, so I will leave that. Oh, that could be fabric, couldn't it, around there? No, anyway, it is what it is now. Alright, so what I will do is I'm going to leave that there for now, and I will come back and do part 2. But I'll just show you there, look how rough all of that is, guys. There's nothing, no finesse there at this stage, and hopefully when I finish it, it will start to look a little bit more like a finished page. I'm sorry about the lighting, if the lighting is changing there. I'm not sure why my phone has started doing that. Okay, so this one is called Hidden. That's the range of colours that I've used just for that little page. It's a lot of markers. And the book is Pirates by RJ Hampson. And this one was, let's see if we can see when it was published. 2020, so it's one of the first ones that he did. It's four years old now. And I don't see many people colour in it, which is a shame because it's a fun book. I like it. So I'll be back soon to finish this page off. So thank you for being with me today. Thank you for putting up with the fact that I'm still not entirely on top of my game. But hopefully we will get better as I go along. Okay, I'll see you next time. Bye now.